Hello, everybody. I'm Alan Denman, writer, novelist, filmmaker, and welcome to Storyteller, bringing you thoughts, ideas, insights, and hopefully inspiration on the art of storytelling. Okay, so far we've looked at the hero's journey as a story model, which is very ancient in many ways, but still very, very relevant today. We've also looked at an aspect of it called the call to adventure. We've talked about the purpose of story as well, and the original purpose of story, if you like, the primordial stories are our myths, which explain how we got here, how the universe was created, and so forth. But what we haven't looked at is actually how you write a story. So this is a very practical episode today, and I'm going to introduce something to you which I call the dramatic premise, or can be called very sweetly a simple story formula. Now, I'll give you a warning. At first, this is going to sound a bit mechanical, but this is an exercise that I use myself and I have used for 20 odd years, which I find very, very useful. And it really is an exercise which is like fill in the dots, all right? And what it gives you is the core of your story in one paragraph, the essence of a story that you can then begin to flesh out. So this is how it goes. This is the formula, and it goes, this is a story about ... This is where you put in the name of your protagonist and a few of their key qualities or personality traits. Okay, this is important that you give your character a name, and you might want to give them a full name as well, not just Joe or Mary or something like that, but something a little bit more specific, because you as a writer have to believe that this character is real. They must feel real. And you give them a mix of characteristics. Don't make them all good, but something like controlling but absent-minded, or kind but forgetful. So there's a mix of, if you like, positive and negative traits that go in. Now, that's the first point. So this is a story about the name of your protagonist and a few of their key qualities. Who their problem is. All right, this is very important, because why are we watching a story about a particular character and not knowing why we're watching it? So I'm just sitting out and getting that off screen. And so this is it. The second point, the second element of the simple story formula is whose problem is. And it could be whose problem is they're very lonely, they've just lost their wife, they're broke, they're lost, they don't know who their father was. It could be all kinds of things, but they've got to have a problem, because once you've got the problem generates the goal of the story. This is what gives the plot of forward motion, forward momentum. So this is a story about name of protagonist, a few key qualities, whose problem is, and therefore their goal is. So if they've just lost their wife, it would be to find love, some kind of partnership. But may not be literally another wife. It might be love and partnership in some other way. So that's the problem and the goal. However, a story is only as good as its antagonist. So this brings in the third element of the dramatic premise or simple story formula. However, he or she, the protagonist, is opposed by, and then you want the name of your antagonist, right? Here again, give them a full name, make them feel real, whose key qualities are, and just certain, elements in them. And here again, don't make them all black. This isn't a battle between black and white. Really, a good story is a conflict between different agendas, okay? So, however, he or she, the protagonist, is opposed by the name of the antagonist and a few of their key qualities and hopefully contrasting qualities as well, make them more interesting, whose goal is to, and then make sure that the goal in many ways, if not completely, conflicts with the goal of your protagonist. And then the final element, in the end, the conflict is resolved when the protagonist defeats or overcomes the antagonist. Now, you would need to fill in that bit. And sometimes some writers will start and reverse engineer a story. So they know how a story ends and they work it back from there. But there's different ways to go on this. So this is a very, very simple formula for creating a story. So what I'm challenging you is think about a story you want to write and use this formula and just try write it. Just literally, almost, it sounds mechanical, but fill in the dots. So, and I'm going to read it to you once again. This is a story about name of the protagonist, and then what kind of a person they are, what their qualities are, whose problem is, and therefore their goal is to ... However, he or she is opposed by, then the name of the antagonist, a few of their key qualities, make them interesting, and in the end, the conflict is resolved when. Now, another golden rule about climax is that the protagonist should be most active at the climax. So it's not like, in the end, the conflict is resolved when the antagonist surrenders. No, that's way too easy. That's not interesting. Or when the police arrive and arrest the antagonist. Way too easy. The point of a story is we want to see a character grappling with a problem and finding a way to overcome it in some ways. I will give you, in future episodes, I will do some analysis of simple stories which will kind of illustrate this formula. So I wonder if I can just make one up on the spot. So this is a story about Joe Simpson, a lonely middle-aged man whose wife died 10 years ago, and whose problem is that he's very lonely. And therefore his goal is to find another partner in some way. And however, he is opposed by his sister, who wants him to come and live in her house and manage her affairs for him. So there's a family conflict here. And in the end, the conflict is resolved when Joe finds somebody else that can be her helper, and he then meets somebody else and forms a new partnership. I mean, that's very, very basic, I know. But you see, you're starting to shape a story here, and you may need to use this many times, but it will start to get your story cogs turning, and that's very important. And this goes into the subconscious. You start to visualize your characters. You start to think about what their goal is, what their problem is, and their goal, therefore. And this starts to get things moving. So you're not going to get this right first off. It is, write a bit, write some notes, then come back to the simple story formula like this. I hope that all makes sense. And if anybody would like a copy of this, it's to one-page notes, please email me and I will email you a PDF of it. And I'm going to go into a lot more detail in future episodes, just really talking about different aspects of this and how you open it out so it becomes a bigger story, how you can introduce subplots and so forth, and eventually expand this. It could stay as a short story, or you could expand it into a novel. But this, the simple story formula, is an incredibly valuable tool. So that's it. And if you do want a copy of this, this PDF, then please email me, alanjdenman, one word, at gmail.com. And that's it for this week.